Hey yo, I'm reacting to the what about people who never heard about Jesus? Tough question answered. And as far as what I gave it out of five, um, is it? Oh, I forget. It doesn't actually change the screen. I think maybe a two. I didn't really. I feel like this kind of felt like a technicality issue, or like when people have technical concerns related to God, like, oh, if I do this, then will this happen? Or like, it's important that something happens a specific way, or the specific details of something, of how something transpires. Like, they like when you're trying to solve a problem related to Christianity, or trying to get around something through technicalities kind of thing. Like, I I mean, that's how it comes off to me a little bit. Like, you're asking, do people who like, the idea is that it's important for someone to, I guess, believe that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior, and He is the only way through to heaven, and they want to go that way, kind of thing. Like, it's important for people to do that in order to get to heaven. Some people believe that everyone innately knows that, and so it doesn't matter whether they've been properly shared the right Bible or the right gospel, and like, and there are some people where it's like, okay, yeah, no, it's the people who didn't get that opportunity to interact with the gospel. They get a get out of jail free card. They get they're excused or something. Um, but then I feel like there's the extra step of, or I mean, where I would take it next is like, okay, what about the technicality of like, I feel like if we're really trying to go about what seems most sensible, like, it can't just be enough of like, you've had an opportunity to research the gospel and like read the words, understand an idea, and be like, I don't think this is for me, or I don't trust this, or yeah, I'm not connecting, and I don't think this is good for me. Like, it almost sounds like, at least the guy from the beginning or whatever, and maybe I misunderstood it, but it sounded like, I think he was agreeing with that guy, unless he was showing him as like, this is a wrong idea, or this is a false idea. I didn't totally get why he showed both separate clips. But the guy in the beginning was like, if you his stance or perspective seemed to be like, if you've encountered the gospel and you haven't, and you've had an opportunity, anyone who has the internet and has been like told that, like, by anyone, that Christianity is a thing and that they should look into it or whatever, if anyone's like, evangelized to you, or you've watched an advertisement, or seen a YouTube video, or whatever, all of a sudden, you fall under that umbrella, you're aware, and it's up to you to like look into that. You have an opportunity, and you're rejecting that if you don't. And if you read it and you're like, yeah, I'm not connecting with this, I'm rejecting it, that falls under that umbrella. So I guess you're condemned if you're not, you know, connecting with it, and you're deciding not to go with it. But I feel like that doesn't make sense to me. That can't be sensible. That can't be right. I feel like it has to be, the thing that makes the most sense is like, because the way I see it, I mean, we are very fallible creatures. Like, the difference of our mood, the difference of how something is presented, the difference of who tells us something, how we read it, where we read it, who tells us it, you know, and the situation we're in when we happen to see it, all of those can affect your reception to information, like reading the Bible, or experiencing the gospel or whatever, and your history and all of that stuff. Like, and so I feel like, the whether or not you connect with and understand what's being offered with you, or what's being offered to you, like, that is like, whether you actually make that connection that's an extremely vulnerable and like uh that's not something you can count on, I don't think. Like I don't think it's enough just to say you had an opportunity to read the words or hear the words. Now you're liable. Now you're I think that's the word. Liable, accountable or whatever, just because it was shown to you. Like it's to me it almost sounds like you're if the matter of whether you go to hell or not is whether you accept and believe in this poetry, this like some sort of big page of poetry, and like you have to confess and choose and really believe that this poetry is what it takes to go to heaven and what it takes to avoid hell, kind of thing. And you have to believe in that in all your heart. And like if you're not connecting with the poetry or whatever, if you're not understanding what's being expressed, like how can you be held accountable for that? I don't think it's enough just to say you read the words, you were shown it, you could have researched it more, like that doesn't seem reasonable to me. So what I feel like now, this is maybe this is, I don't know how much of this is relevant. This is just expressing my reaction. I'm not totally going over what they said. I don't know how much, but just my reaction to the idea of this issue, I guess. But like what makes more sense to me is like someone who like knows what, you know, really like they read the poetry and they understand the words, they connect with the ideas, they know what's being presented with them, and they actively choose like not to do that. They actively choose, to do something else or value something else. But that means like they have to understand that they are choosing hell. That is what I feel like that's the only sensible thing. Like that's the only thing that makes it reasonable, because otherwise like you're choosing something and you're not aware of what you're choosing, which doesn't seem sensible to me. Like I feel like people would only be condemned or held accountable if they knew what, they were choosing, and they knew they were choosing hell over heaven or whatever. Like that is the only perspective that makes sense to me, of like whether you go to hell or whether you go to heaven, it only makes sense that like it's not, I mean, it can't, if we're trying to be sincere or like, tender, trying to understand this with the best scope of our human brains or whatever, and it's not just an issue of technicalities, like it doesn't make sense that people would go to hell for like not connecting with the word. I feel like it only makes sense if they knew, like they saw heaven and hell and they chose hell. They know like that they're going to hell and they're choosing that over heaven, kind of thing. That is what makes more sense to me. But yeah, anyways, that was my big reaction. It's just awkward when like a guy like this, it sounds like the way he's framing it is like he's really putting pressure on you. If you've heard the word, if it's been shown or revealed to you in any form, now you're held accountable. It's on you now. That kind of thing, which doesn't seem reasonable to me. Um yeah, I don't know. That's my reaction. But yeah.